Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into, well, a really fascinating and quite challenging legal situation straight from the Supreme Court of India.
hmm
You've shared this order, dated July 29, 2025, about a case involving Kunal Chatterjee. It really makes you think about consent, promises, justice.
It absolutely does. And our goal here really is to unpack how India's highest court tackles these incredibly complex layers. Talking consent, age, how time affects things in criminal law.
It's a real deep dive into legal thinking.
Exactly. This case is a perfect window into that, how courts interpret law,
Yeah.
how they define justice when the facts are messy.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Kunal Chatterjee, he was facing charges under the Indian Penal Code sections 4 and 17, 376, 506. That's cheating, sexual assault, criminal intimidation.
Serious charges.
Very. And on top of that, Section 6 of the POCSO Act, the Protection of Children from Sexual Offenses Act.
Which adds another very serious dimension, aggravated sexual assault against a child.
Precisely. Now, here's the twist, or one of them. The complainant said she was only 15 when the relationship started.
Minor.
But she didn't file the FIR, the initial police report, until 3 years later, by which time she was an adult.
Right.
And crucially, this was after the promise of marriage between them fell apart. So you have this broken promise, a relationship history, the age factor. How did the Supreme Court even begin to untangle this?
Well, it's definitely a balancing act. The court ultimately decided to quash the proceedings against him.
Really? Quashed everything.
Yes. And their reasoning is quite revealing. They did a really rigorous analysis of the facts presented. It wasn't just about the initial claims.
Okay. What did they focus on?
Several key things. First, they pointed to a lack of solid evidence of actual rape during the time she was supposedly a minor.
So not enough proof for that specific period.
Exactly. Second, the complainant herself stated her consent to the physical relationship was tied to his promise of marriage.
Ah, the promise again.
Yes. And this is critical. The court has stated before, in other cases too, that a consensual relationship based on a marriage promise, even if that promise is later broken, doesn't automatically become rape.
So a broken promise, however painful, isn't the same as non-consent in the eyes of the law for rape here.
That's the distinction the court drew based on precedent. It's about the nature of the consent at the time of the act, not necessarily what happens later with the relationship.
Okay, that makes sense legally, even if it feels complicated emotionally. What about the 3-year gap before reporting it? That seems like a long time.
It is, and the court definitely thought so too. That delay was another major factor.
How so?
They actually called the delayed filing an abuse of the process of law.
Abuse of process? Wow, what does that imply?
It suggests the timing was suspect, that perhaps the legal system wasn't being used immediately to report a crime, but maybe deployed later, possibly because the relationship ended badly for other reasons.
So the delay casts doubt on the motive for filing.
It certainly contributed to the court's decision. It reinforces this idea that while laws like POCSO are vital, they need to be used appropriately and promptly with supporting evidence, not potentially as leverage after a relationship sours years later.
Right. It's about protecting the integrity of the legal process itself, too.
Precisely. The burden of proof and timely action are crucial, especially in such sensitive cases.
So pulling it all together then, the court quashed the case because basically there wasn't enough evidence of rape when she was a minor.
Uh-huh.
Her own statement linked consent to the marriage promise, which the court says doesn't automatically make it rape if the promise breaks.
Correct. Citing precedents.
And that 3-year delay was seen as a misuse, an abuse of the legal process.
That sums it up well. It really underscores how strictly the court interprets the definition of rape in these contexts, distinguishing it from breach promises in consensual relationships.
It's that judicial tightrope walk you mentioned.
Absolutely. Yeah. Balancing the critical need to protect vulnerable people with ensuring laws aren't, weaponized in failed relationships, where the core issue isn't actually non-consent as defined by law.
It really leaves you with a lot to think about. How does any legal system strike that incredibly difficult balance, protecting people who need it without enabling the misuse of those same protective laws, especially when memory, consent, and time get all tangled up?
It's a fundamental challenge.
Something for you, the listener, to really mull over. What does justice look like in these complex human situations?